It's not every day that Hollywood witnesses a reinvention this bold. Just 1 week after filing for divorce from country star Keith Urban, Nicole Kidman stunned the fashion world and the internet by stepping into a new spotlight as the newest global ambassador for Chanel. The timing couldn't have been more dramatic. One moment, headlines screamed about the end of a 17-year marriage. The next, Nicole appeared poised, elegant, and glowing, draped in Chanel and announcing her return to the brand that once defined her as the face of timeless beauty. It wasn't just a career move, it felt like a message. Fans across social media couldn't ignore the symbolism. Was this a coincidence? Or a carefully calculated power play? Because let's be honest, Nicole Kidman doesn't do coincidences. She's a woman who plans her moments, and this one landed perfectly. Heartbreak turned into empowerment. Personal loss spun into a public triumph. When the news broke on October 6th, the internet erupted. Fashion enthusiasts celebrated the comeback of one of Chanel's most iconic muses, while others whispered that this was Nicole's way of reclaiming her narrative, showing the world that no breakup, no heartbreak could dull her shine. After all, Kidman has built an entire career around transformation. From her Oscar-winning roles to her fearless public reinventions, she's always found power in reinvention. But this time, the contrast was sharper than ever. A woman signing brand contracts in Paris just days after signing divorce papers in Nashville. And she did it all with the grace only Nicole Kidman could pull off. You're calm, collected, with that classic old Hollywood poise. No interviews about heartbreak, no emotional confessions, just one silent statement. I'm still here, and I'm thriving. Her announcement came through a quote that felt like poetry. Chanel has always been ahead of the curve, shining a smart and gracious light on women. Subtle, elegant, and perhaps a little pointed, because in an industry that often sidelines women after a breakup or after 50, Nicole was doing the opposite. She was front and center, representing one of the most powerful fashion houses on earth. In just one move, she flipped the script, from celebrity divorce to global ambassador, from heartbreak to haute couture, and that's exactly why people can't stop talking. But here's where things get even more interesting, because this partnership wasn't random. It's rooted in a 2-decade love story between Nicole and Chanel, and the history behind it reveals why this comeback means more than anyone realized. Sometimes it's not what someone does that captures attention, it's when they do it. And in Nicole Kidman's case, the timing of her Chanel announcement had everyone talking. On September 30th, Nicole officially filed for divorce from Keith Urban after nearly 2 decades of marriage. Hollywood was still catching its breath, gossip pages were buzzing, and fans were dissecting every photo, every public appearance, every silence. Then, almost like clockwork, just 6 days later, Chanel announced Nicole as its new global ambassador. To the casual observer, it looked like business as usual, a glamorous star signing another luxury deal. But to those watching closely, the timing felt too perfect. Social media lit up with theories. Was this a carefully planned image reset? A quiet way to say, you might have seen me cry, but now you'll see me shine? The internet, as usual, had its opinions. On Twitter, fans called it the most elegant revenge arc ever. Reddit threads broke down the PR choreography behind the back-to-back headlines. A divorce 1 week, a Chanel partnership the next. Some even speculated that the deal had been in motion for months, timed to drop right when she needed it most. And yet, for all the speculation, there was something undeniably strategic about it. Nicole didn't sit down for emotional interviews. She didn't post vague breakup captions or subtweets. Instead, she stepped straight into a new chapter with her trademark serenity, smiling on her way to Paris, attending Chanel's runway show under the direction of new creative head Mathieu Blazy. It was a masterclass in narrative control. In an era where every celebrity meltdown becomes a meme, Nicole chose silence, and silence became her loudest statement. Behind the scenes, insiders described her as focused and graceful. A close source told People Nicole is honoring her commitments, as is Keith. No drama, no tears, just 2 professionals moving forward. But fans couldn't help noticing how differently each of them moved on. Keith stayed mostly low-key in Nashville, while Nicole resurfaced on Parisian runways, wrapped in couture and confidence. The story practically wrote itself, a woman turning pain into power, heartbreak into high fashion. The juxtaposition was cinematic, and Nicole knew exactly what she was doing. But there's another layer that most headlines missed. This wasn't her first dance with Chanel. Their connection runs deep, spanning over 20 years of history, beauty, and art, which raises the question, was this just a comeback, or the continuation of something that never truly ended? Because to understand why this partnership felt like destiny, you have to go back to where it all began. To 2003, when Nicole Kidman became the face of Chanel No. 5 and changed the way we saw perfume, luxury, and the woman behind it forever. Before it became a headline comeback, it was a legacy, one that began more than 2 decades ago. Back in 2003, when the world knew Nicole Kidman as the ethereal redhead who had just won her first Oscar for The Hours, Chanel came calling. They didn't just want her to be a face of their perfume, they wanted her to be the face of Chanel No. 5. And what followed wasn't just an ad, it was art. Under the direction of legendary filmmaker Baz Luhrmann, who had previously directed Nicole in Moulin Rouge, the short film-style commercial became a cinematic masterpiece. With sweeping orchestral music, Parisian lights, and Nicole running through the streets in a stunning pink gown, the campaign blurred the line between luxury advertising and movie magic. The tagline, "The world's most desirable woman," for the world's most timeless fragrance. It wasn't just selling perfume, it was telling a story. Her story. That campaign went on to become one of the most expensive ads ever produced at the time, reportedly costing over $30 million. But it was worth every cent. It cemented Nicole as the modern embodiment of elegance, the woman who could balance mystery and power, softness and strength. For Chanel, she wasn't just a celebrity endorsement, she was Chanel. And for Nicole, the partnership wasn't just a paycheck, it was a transformation. It came at a crucial time in her life, right after her divorce from Tom Cruise. She was redefining herself publicly, proving that she could stand tall on her own. So when she reappeared with Chanel in 2025, 2 decades later, it wasn't lost on anyone that history was repeating itself. Another divorce, another rebirth, another moment of reclaiming her image, but this time she was doing it from a place of complete control. Fashion critics noticed it too. Vogue called it a full-circle moment of narrative mastery. Social media dubbed her the comeback queen of quiet luxury. It's poetic, really. In 2003, she used Chanel to rise from heartbreak, to transform from ex-wife to icon. In 2025, she's doing it again, but this time she doesn't need saving. She's steering her own story. And while the internet obsesses over scandal, Nicole plays the long game. She doesn't clap back. She doesn't chase trends. She lets her silence and her style do the talking. Because in Hollywood, some stars burn out, others fade. But Nicole Kidman, she reinvents. And each time she comes back more untouchable than before. When news broke that Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban were calling it quits after nearly 2 decades together, the internet froze. For years, they were Hollywood's steady couple, the red carpet constant that outlasted everyone else's chaos. The two had weathered rumors, rehab stints, and relentless tabloids, yet they always appeared hand in hand, whispering jokes and radiating calm. So when the divorce papers hit the court in early 2025, fans didn't just feel shocked, they felt betrayed by the illusion. Behind the headlines, whispers had been circling for months. Industry insiders claimed Keith's touring lifestyle and emotional distance had quietly strained their marriage. Others pointed to Nicole's career resurgence, saying she had grown too powerful, too busy, too independent. Neither side ever confirmed anything. But that silence only fueled the fascination. It wasn't the first time Nicole had rebuilt herself in the public eye. After her high-profile split from Tom Cruise in 2001, she walked away from one of Hollywood's most powerful unions and became a symbol of resilience. 2 decades later, history repeated itself, but this time, it felt different. Back then, she was escaping control. Now she was reclaiming peace. Those close to her said the separation was civil but final. There was no drama, no explosive statements, just a quiet filing and a pointed absence of wedding rings. But the world didn't need statements. The symbolism said enough. Only weeks later, she appeared at the Cannes Film Festival, draped in a sleek white Chanel gown that shimmered under flashbulbs. No husband, no entourage, just her. The message was clear. Nicole Kidman was rewriting her narrative. Social media exploded with admiration. One viral tweet read, "She walked away from one of the strongest marriages in Hollywood and showed up at Cannes like a goddess unbothered. That's power." Others began calling her the Ice Queen of Reinvention. Not because she was cold, but because she had mastered emotional control in an industry built on chaos. The timing of her Chanel campaign announcement right after the divorce filing wasn't lost on anyone either. To fans, it looked calculated, like a quiet chess move. She wasn't running from heartbreak. She was monetizing it, turning pain into power and turning headlines into legacy. Even tabloids had to admit Nicole's version of revenge was flawless composure. And while the world speculated about custody, settlements, or secret reasons behind the split, Nicole did what she always does best. She let the mystery work for her. Because in Hollywood, some stars seek attention. But Nicole Kidman, she lets the world come to her, on her terms, in her timing, and in her truth. While most celebrities announce their heartbreak with tell-all interviews or emotional Instagram posts, Nicole Kidman did the opposite. She went silent. No statements. No social media breaks. No healing journey posts, just one stunning move, becoming the new face of Chanel. It was genius, because in Hollywood, silence isn't weakness, it's strategy. Within a week of filing for divorce, Nicole was already stepping into the spotlight again, but this time on her own terms. She wasn't crying over a broken marriage, she was walking into the world's most prestigious fashion house as its newest ambassador. The announcement hit like a thunderclap across entertainment media. WWD, Vogue, People, and every major outlet ran with the same angle. Nicole Kidman joins Chanel, days after divorce filing. The timing was impossible to ignore. It wasn't a coincidence. It was a carefully choreographed rebirth. For years, Nicole has been more than an actress. She's been a brand strategist in heels. Every public appearance, every word, every image has been deliberate. So, when she accepted Chanel's offer, insiders say it wasn't just a fashion move, it was a declaration of independence. A close source told People, Nicole isn't chasing fame. She's curating her narrative. She understands that silence makes people talk, and right now, everyone is talking. At 58, when many actresses fade from the spotlight or get quietly sidelined by Hollywood's obsession with youth, Nicole was commanding headlines again. Not for her relationships, but for her relevance. That's rare. That's power. Chanel's creative director, Mathieu Blazy, reportedly wanted someone who embodied timeless sophistication and emotional depth. Nicole checked both boxes, and then some. Their collaboration instantly became the talk of Paris Fashion Week. Cameras captured her walking into Chanel's show with the poise of someone who had nothing left to prove, but everything to celebrate. And that's the thing about Nicole Kidman. She doesn't reinvent herself with noise. She reinvents through aesthetic control. When others weaponize their heartbreak, she wears hers in silk and sequins, turning vulnerability into art. The symbolism of her partnership with Chanel wasn't lost on fans either. For decades, Chanel has represented femininity, resilience, and reinvention. All words that define Nicole's entire career. And by returning to a brand that once defined her in her 30s, she was coming full circle. Not as the ingenue she once was, but as the woman who had survived it all and still shined brighter. It wasn't just a comeback. It was a masterclass in control. The kind only Nicole Kidman could teach. Long before she became the face of reinvention, Nicole Kidman was the face of Chanel No. 5, the most iconic perfume in history. It was 2004. She was Hollywood royalty, fresh off her Oscar win, and at the peak of her power. Chanel tapped her to star in a cinematic masterpiece, No. 5, the film, directed by Baz Luhrmann, the same visionary behind Moulin Rouge. The short film was pure fantasy, a dreamlike escape into love, glamour, and heartbreak. Nicole wore pink tulle, diamonds, and mystery, and in just 3 minutes she transformed perfume advertising forever. It wasn't a commercial, it was art. The film became a cultural phenomenon, and Nicole became the Chanel woman, elegant, unattainable, and unforgettable. Fast forward 20 years later, and she's back, different decade, different story, same brand, but this time the symbolism hits harder. In 2023, she attended the Met Gala wearing the exact same pink Chanel gown from that 2004 ad. The same one designed by Karl Lagerfeld himself. Thousands of feathers, thousands of sequins, and 1,000 memories stitched into one dress. It wasn't just fashion, it was storytelling. When Nicole walked that red carpet hand in hand with Keith Urban, no one could have guessed that the marriage she was celebrating then would end 2 years later. But looking back now, that gown, that night, feels like a farewell. A beautiful, glittering goodbye to an era of her life, and in 2025, when she re-emerged as Chanel's newest ambassador, the message was crystal clear. Nicole Kidman wasn't trying to relive her past, she was reclaiming it. It's poetic how time works in Hollywood. The same gown that once symbolized fairy tale romance now represents resilience, evolution, and control. The same woman who once ran from paparazzi in that 2004 ad now walks into flashing cameras by choice. Calm, poised, and unbothered. For Chanel, it's the perfect story arc. For Nicole, it's the perfect revenge. In interviews, she said, "Chanel has always been ahead of the curve, shining a smart and gracious light on women. And now she's the one shining that light on herself." In a world obsessed with youth and newness, Nicole turned nostalgia into her superpower. By reviving her connection with Chanel, she reminded everyone that true luxury isn't about reinvention, it's about endurance. She's not the same woman from that 2004 film. She's wiser, stronger, more self-aware, and that evolution is exactly what makes this return so powerful. History didn't just repeat itself. It roared back louder, prouder, and more cinematic than ever. Nicole Kidman wasn't stepping into her old role. She was rewriting it. When the news broke that Nicole Kidman was officially Chanel's new ambassador, it wasn't just a fashion headline, it was a full-blown media storm. The timing was impossible to ignore. Barely a week after filing for divorce from Keith Urban, Nicole appeared poised, radiant, and utterly unshaken. Hollywood insiders called it strategic, fans called it iconic. But everyone agreed, the timing was intentional. Fashion critics flooded social media with praise, calling her comeback a masterclass in controlled reinvention. As WWD and People ran the story, Twitter exploded with comments like, "Nicole Kidman just turned heartbreak into haute couture. And this is how you rebrand a divorce, in Chanel." Within hours, clips from her old Chanel No. 5 ad began resurfacing online. TikTok creators stitched the 2004 visuals beside her new Paris runway appearance, calling it the full-circle moment we didn't know we needed. The internet's verdict? Nicole Kidman didn't just sign a contract, she won the breakup. Even in elite fashion circles, whispers started. Some claim that Chanel's creative director Mathieu Blasi had been eyeing Nicole for months, waiting for the perfect moment to make her return official. Others believe the brand saw her divorce as a chance to mirror Chanel's core message: strength, independence, and timeless femininity. Behind the glossy headlines, the move was brilliant branding. While tabloids obsessed over her split, Nicole quietly shifted the narrative. She wasn't the heartbroken actress. She was the woman reborn, stepping into a new era of elegance and control. For Chanel, the timing was marketing gold. For Nicole, it was emotional alchemy, turning personal chaos into power. Meanwhile, Keith Urban stayed silent. He continued touring, appearing composed, professional, and gracious. But fans couldn't help comparing their public images. One was glowing in Paris couture. The other was singing sad songs on stage. Social media made its choice quickly. Nicole had the revenge arc everyone wanted to root for. Even celebrities chimed in subtly. Kate Blanchett liked a post celebrating Nicole's ambassadorship. Fashion designer Olivier Rousteing reposted her photo with the caption, "Unstoppable." And just like that, the narrative was sealed. Nicole wasn't just surviving the breakup, she was thriving in full view of the world. The symbolism hit deeper than people realized. Coco Chanel herself built her empire after heartbreak, channeling her pain into timeless art. And now, decades later, Nicole Kidman was doing the same, rewriting the script of how women rise after loss. Hollywood loves a comeback story. But what Nicole delivered wasn't a comeback. It was a transformation. And she didn't need tears, drama, or interviews to prove it. All she needed was a Chanel suit, a Paris runway, and her silence. Because sometimes silence speaks louder than any headline ever could. When most celebrities go through a divorce, they talk. They post cryptic messages, unfollow their ex, or drop a healing era Instagram quote. But Nicole Kidman? She said nothing. No statement, no interview, no sad post. And that silence became her loudest move yet. While tabloids scrambled for details about her split from Keith Urban, Nicole quietly stepped into Paris, front row at Chanel's haute couture show, glowing, elegant, and unreachable. She wasn't running from the headlines. She was the headline. The photos said everything the press couldn't, and the timing couldn't have been more perfect. 6 days after filing for divorce, she was photographed in one of the most powerful seats in fashion. In Hollywood, image is currency, and Nicole just proved she still controls the market. For decades, she's been known for her grace under pressure. From her high-profile breakup with Tom Cruise to her Hollywood reinvention in the early 2000s, Nicole has mastered the art of the silent pivot, turning personal pain into professional power. This time was no different. Her team didn't release statements or stage interviews. They let the visuals do the work. A flawless campaign rollout, perfectly timed public appearances, and subtle symbolism that screamed confidence. Nicole's message was simple: you can't spin what I don't say. Industry insiders noticed immediately. A Vogue editor tweeted, "Nicole Kidman just gave a masterclass in public relations without saying a word." Fashion critics praised her restraint, calling it modern-day mystery marketing. In an age where oversharing is the norm, Nicole chose discretion, and that made her even more magnetic. It's no coincidence that Chanel's, a brand built on quiet strength and timeless rebellion, chose this moment to bring her back. Coco Chanel herself once said, "Elegance is refusal." And Nicole embodied that line perfectly. She refused chaos, refused gossip, refused to be pitied. Instead of giving the press heartbreak, she gave them haute couture. Instead of tears, she gave them timelessness. And the result? She went viral, not for drama, but for discipline. Even her body language told a story. At the Paris show, she didn't pose too much, didn't seek the spotlight. She simply existed in it, and the cameras couldn't look away. Every frame of her that day felt intentional, from the sleek bun to the minimal jewelry. It wasn't just style, it was strategy. By the time entertainment outlets caught up, Nicole had already rewritten her narrative. She wasn't the actress going through a divorce. She was the woman redefining grace after heartbreak. In just 1 week, she turned scandal into sophistication, without a single press conference or tell-all, just poise, timing, and silence. And in a world that thrives on chaos, that silence became her loudest headline. Nicole Kidman didn't play the media game. She outsmarted it. After every storm comes a shift, and for Nicole Kidman, that shift isn't quiet. It's deliberate, powerful, and deeply cinematic. Her divorce may have been the headline, but it's clear. That's not where her story ends. It's where the rebrand begins. Hollywood insiders are already calling this her third act. The first was her rise, from Australian newcomer to Tom Cruise's co-star and global icon. The second, her reinvention, an Oscar-winning powerhouse with Moulin Rouge, The Hours, and Big Little Lies. And now Act 3, the Empire era. With Chanel by her side, Nicole isn't just modeling clothes, she's building a narrative that says, elegance can be strength, aging can be beautiful, and silence can be louder than scandal. Sources close to the actress told Variety that Nicole's next moves are career-defining. She's reportedly working on multiple projects, including a new limited series exploring the darker side of fame and a production deal through her company, Blossom Films, which has quietly become one of the most influential female-led studios in Hollywood. Insiders describe her upcoming roles as fierce, unfiltered, and deeply personal. And that's no coincidence. Every career choice she's making post-divorce seems to reflect her new narrative: self-mastery, maturity, and independence. Even her public appearances are calculated. The Chanel partnership isn't just fashion, it's framing. She's positioning herself among timeless icons: Audrey Hepburn, Grace Kelly, Coco Chanel herself. Women who didn't just wear luxury, they embodied it. Social media can't get enough of it. TikTok edits label her the Queen of Quiet Revenge. Fan pages now track her every red carpet look, decoding her symbolism like a cinematic Easter egg, and every appearance tells a story, not of loss, but of evolution. Critics say this new era of Nicole feels untouchable, not because she's hiding, but because she's controlling her narrative with precision few stars can manage. She's not competing with younger Hollywood. She's setting the bar for what longevity looks like in an industry obsessed with the new. And the irony? This transformation was born from heartbreak. It's poetic, almost scripted. The same actress who once starred in Baz Luhrmann's Chanel No. 5 fantasy, now living out her real-life sequel. The woman who walked away from love and stepped straight into legend. Nicole Kidman isn't just surviving Hollywood's reinvention cycle, she's redefining it. She's proving that power doesn't fade with time. It matures, refines, and commands attention differently. So what's next? Rumors suggest Chanel may feature her in a new global campaign, possibly even a modern continuation of that 2004 number 5 story. If that's true, the symbolism will be impossible to ignore. The same woman, 2 decades later, still defining timeless beauty. In the end, Nicole Kidman didn't need to shout her comeback. She wore it. And as she walks into this new chapter, poised, powerful, and unapologetically herself, one thing's certain: this isn't a comeback, it's a coronation. In a world where every breakup becomes a headline and every headline becomes a weapon, Nicole Kidman chose silence and turned it into art. She didn't post a quote about healing. She didn't give a tell-all. Instead, she walked into Paris, wrapped in Chanel, and let the cameras do the talking. That moment wasn't about couture or contracts. It was about control. Control of her image, her story, and her power. 2 decades ago, Nicole was the face of Chanel number 5, the symbol of romance, allure, and dreams. Now she's the embodiment of something far stronger: resilience. The same woman who once represented fantasy now represents freedom. Her silence became her statement. Her elegance became her revenge. And her return became her rebirth. In Hollywood, where narratives are sold faster than truth, Nicole didn't let anyone write hers for her. She crafted it, frame by frame, like a director of her own legacy. And maybe that's the real lesson here. Power doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it wears Chanel. Because in the end, Nicole Kidman didn't just walk away from her past, she walked into history. If you love deep dive celebrity stories like this, where Hollywood meets strategy and fashion meets power, make sure you hit that subscribe button, because this isn't just gossip. It's the untold side of fame, and the next story might just surprise you.